Let's play a game. You're a program director of a radio station, and I say to you the word radio. What immediately comes to mind? Right. Racing and fashion. Racing and fashion, what can they possibly have to do with radio? Well, a lot, depending on how you use them. I'm going to use them as an analogy because I've found over the years that when I try to explain a concept, especially something that's a different kind of concept to people in radio, their mind jumps ahead. They jump to what they know, what they think they know, what somebody might have said somewhere along the way, and I lose them because I'll make a right turn, they'll make a left, and all of a sudden we're off in different fields. I'm saying one thing, they're somewhere else. So I found that taking it out of radio and jumping into some other totally different analogy usually works well because you don't know where I'm going and you'll just follow what I'm saying and that'll be it. So I'm going to take you through racing and then we're going to move into fashion. The purpose of the racing part is to make it really clear that goals and trying to achieve something and a job, sometimes they get confused. People don't actually do what they're supposed to do. They do what they think they're supposed to do. And that usually isn't good. Okay, so let me give you a racing analogy. You're a NASCAR driver. I hire you, you're running the Indy 500, but it's a year from now. So you know immediately that you got to learn about racing. Oh my God, you got to learn how to pass high, pass low, be this far from somebody's bumper at 150 miles an hour and do that for maybe 60 miles straight. You got to know the torque and suspension of the car and, whether is it out of balance? Oh, it's raining. What kind of tires do I need to do? How's the car work? The engine sounds strange. You got to know all those things. Just like you were the major mechanic in the pit crew. That guy or woman would know all of that. When you're in the car and you're driving, the goal is to win the race, which most of the mechanics can't do and won't do and don't have the skill to do because that's something that's entirely different from knowing all the pieces of the job, because the pieces of the job are not the job because they don't get to the goal. When you're out on the track, the goal is really pretty simple. All you have to do is just pass the car in front of you and keep passing cars until there's no more cars to pass. That's it. So let's move that now to radio. Obviously, the big question is, what is the job of a PD? Like, what is a program director supposed to do? What's the goal? Well, the goal is ratings, but you can't just go, I want to get ratings. First off, you're going to have to learn everything that the driver learned, not literally, but the equivalent. I'll teach you those. They are the pieces, the tasks, the projects, the work, the chores, the routines of being a PD. But it's not what you're supposed to be doing as the job of a PD. The job of a PD is way simpler. I'm going to do an exercise with you right now where I'm going to show you jackets. What? Jackets? Well, here's the fashion part. The jackets have logos on them. I'm going to give you 3 jackets, sets of 3s, and I'm going to go through them, and you're going to see logos on jackets. I'm going to want you to pick one. Your body, your mind, everything you know about things, you're going to lean toward a jacket or away from a jacket. Or maybe you might like all 3 of them and can't decide, which is also good. Or in some instances, it could be bad because they may be all mediocre companies. So I'm going to go through them. You choose one, but while you're doing it, I want you to think really carefully about why you're doing that. Why are you leaning toward one or another? Why are you leaning away from one or another? What's the feeling? What's causing that? So here we go. Let's get started. I'll make this one easy. Batteries, kind of uneventful, I know. Which one would you choose? Which one wouldn't you choose? Same thing. Where are you leaning? Again, I can't stress this enough. I want you to try and keep track of what you're feeling as you view these. And also whatever runs through your mind as I flip each group and new ones come on the screen. You could probably guess at what's going to be going on in this one. Probably picking Netflix, not choosing iFlix. But here's the interesting part. You don't know anything about iFlix, probably. You probably never heard of it. But 5 years from now, it might be giving Netflix a run because you would have amassed way more information. Right now it might be an awesome service. I don't know. But that's the problem. I don't know. And you probably don't know either. Here's three large stores. If I say to you one of those is a club, you're probably going to know what it is. If I say to you one of those, you tend to see a lot of videos or people making fun of the people who shop in their stores, even though they're great stores, you'll know which one I'm talking about. If I say one of these is an online store, well, for sure you're going to know which one that is. History, knowledge, feeling. We're into phones. It's either going to be Samsung or iPhone. I don't think too many people are choosing BlackBerry unless you've always had a BlackBerry and you still like it. But BlackBerry was the monster company of those three. I mean, it dominated cell phones. So what happened? Were the iPhone people or the Samsung people smarter? Did they have more money? Well, Apple back then was pretty much broke. They were really close to bankruptcy. So it certainly wasn't money. So what was it? Again, this pertains to radio. What they had was new ideas, and they were willing to take risk. They were willing to do things that hadn't been done before. They were willing to push the envelope. And that's what Apple did with the iPhone and reaped all the rewards of it. Everything you do with a radio station has consequences. Even more importantly, everything you don't do, like BlackBerry, also has consequences. You know the old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Well, that doesn't always hold true. Here's three cars, very similar, all high-end, all German, and might be tough for you to make a choice. Here, I'll make it easier. Although if you're a truck person, you may go for the Ford. I'm assuming most people are going to look at the BMW and go for that one. The interesting part about this is if you get a totally pimped out F-150, even though the connotation is not this, but those trucks, high likelihood that they cost more than most Mercedes, than the BMWs or the Audis. But again, that is not the perception, and we deal in perception. And that bleeds into the logo, even though this is not in any way about logos. Here's another set of cars. One of them's different. This says a lot, not so much about the car, but the person who drives it. It's a reflection of them. They want to tell the world that they're an environmentalist. Moving to airlines, EasyJet is the anomaly here. If you're in North America, you may not know about EasyJet. It is a very large airline in Europe. I think at one point they were the third largest airline in the world. But you have no frame of reference. You've never flown them. You probably haven't heard about them. You don't know anything about them. So therefore, they fall to the back of the pack probably in your choosing. But if you're in Europe, it wouldn't be that way. Let's go into radio. I'm hoping at this point that most of you, if not all of you, don't know anything about these radio stations. You've never heard cool contests on them. You've never heard their air personalities, whether they're good or bad. You have no impression of them. You're not familiar with them. As we get to the end of this, and I only got a couple more slides to go, thought it'd be interesting to throw out the same radio station. I mean, not literally, but it's mixed. If you look at these three logos, which is one of the things that a station has at its disposal, each logo gives a different feel for a different kind of radio station. I'm not going to say which one, but one of those logos, at least to me, looks like it's really small market. Maybe they just did it on Word. They never had an actual graphic person even try to do the logo. They just typed it out and decided to, here, stick it on t-shirts, put it up on billboards, there's our logo. I mean, it's a really lousy logo. I'm not going to say which one, but it's pretty bad. If you're a regular person looking at that, what are you going to think of the radio station? Seriously, what's going to run through your mind? You're going to be proud of that radio station? You're going to think, oh, that's awesome. I love that radio station. Or you're going to go, oh man, I'm reluctant to tell anybody I listen. Let's move on to some really big stations. Kiss FM in LA, Z100 in New York, and Capital in London, England. These are all really large, very successful radio stations. What's interesting about these, and I thought I'd just point it out to you, only one of them doesn't say where it's from. Now, I'm guessing that's probably because other stations use the KISS logo. They just changed the frequency, for iHeart, and that's the way it works. But if you were in Iowa, let's just say, and you don't know any of these radio stations, the one that's going to drop out probably is KISS. Because again, your mind is going to run through things as to whether you like something or not like something. And if you had to choose one, if you were pressed, you're going to eliminate the KISS one. Unless there's a KISS in your market, you might choose it. But assuming there's not, the next thing you're going to go to is the only other frame of knowledge that you have, and that's the city. Much like going on vacation where people buy t-shirts, if you were in Puerto Vallarta, you want a Puerto Vallarta t-shirt, or an Orlando t-shirt, or a Disney World, or London, Paris, New York, whatever. So they're going to choose New York or London because it's the only thing they have to judge on. 3 more radio stations. One of these you probably don't have a good feeling for, or you have no feeling for it. Finally, there's one more slide to go, and there's a couple radio stations on it and a sort of surprise. Which one speaks to you? Which one would feel pretty cool to have it on your back? Which one would it be? If I was a lawyer and didn't know the answer, I would never ask this question, what jacket did you take? I'm guessing it was the Beatles. And the reason for that is pretty simple, because more than any of the radio stations there, they have 55 years of doing everything right. They had great music, they were nice people, they weren't drug addicts, there was nothing to be embarrassed about. They pushed the envelope in music, they pushed the envelope on fashion, they changed hair design. With the Maharishi, they went into religious things. They went in 80 different directions, and they were all ultimately good people. They did everything right and still do everything right for 55 years. And on top of that, with John Lennon being shot, the empathy and sadness of that also got added onto the Beatles. And all of that got added into that logo that you saw. When you saw the logos, you felt the Beatles. Everything they did was encapsulated in that logo. I need you, as a PD of a radio station, to do the same thing. Everything of the radio station is encapsulated in the radio station logo. Your job is to get a listener to want to put your jacket on and wear it proudly. And tell people why they're wearing it proudly if anybody ever asks. That's really the job. Now, that entails a ton of different ways of doing it, and that's at your disposal. I'm going to teach you that for the course. All the music, the promos, the liners, your air talent, your advertising, your logos, everything that you do, where you set up for remotes. When you go somewhere, do you look good or do you not look good? Do you look embarrassing when you're out in public? Those type of things, all of that. How much do you follow the crowd with your music? Or how much shots do you take where you go, ooh, that was pretty cool. Wow, this station is always surprising me. Maybe you do specials, maybe you do some sort of a musical documentary or feature or something. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to be constantly inventing the radio station such that a listener is going, I love this radio station. And you're building in, like the Beatles, an enormous amount of goodwill into your logo. And again, this is not about logos, it's about your radio station. If you just do the job like a mechanic, you're just managing. You're not programming the radio station, you're just managing it. And you will be the easy person to beat. Anybody embracing the putting on the jacket and all that pertains to will eat you alive. But if you're the one doing that, it'll be reversed. You'll be the person that'll be hard to beat because you'll be doing what needs to be done. As always, click below, subscribe to the channel, make sure you get the new notifications of new lessons that are coming out. Hope you like this one. Hope it helps your career. And again, if you get nothing out of anything I do from here on, just keep coming back to this one, and this will help you be, I can assure you, a really good PD.